Greetings, my friends. I'm Volk, and this is the last portion of videos dedicated to the class changes coming from BioWare and their developer blogs, preparing us for the upcoming patch 4.0 and Knights of the Fallen Empire, the newest digital expansion to our favorite game, Star Wars: The Old Republic. Before you, on the screen, you see Lek. He is my second character. For those of you who care to learn, for those of you who are here about the changes, I will not waste your time and let's begin. First, a few global words, just like with every other video I have recorded for other advanced classes and their changes. In the first developer blog, BioWare mentioned the global changes they're preparing for the game. General class and combat changes. Utility grant levels. Now you get utility choice points at the following levels to prevent excessive power inflation with each expansion and to ensure a choice was present at level 65. Because we know the new level cap is going to be 65, and it's only logical that we will be rewarded with something fancy and new. So we still have 7 points for utility skills to spend on, and we will be learning them at different levels compared to what it is currently on the live version of the game. The first 3 utility points, tier 1, will be granted to us at level 17, 25 and 33, up from level 11, 19 and 27. If you don't know what BioWare is talking about, these are the moments when we learn utility points as we level through and progress down the line of our discipline path. Currently we have 11, 19 and 27. Tier 2 will grant us 2 utility points. I don't know why they decided to call them tier 1 and tier 2. The dependencies with the right side where the utility points are not exactly the same, because you don't have to spend anything on tier 2 or tier 3. As a matter of fact, you can spend all your valuable points on tier 1 if you really want to have all of those buffs. So the next 2 levels are 41 and 49. Currently, the abilities, the utility points are granted to us at level 35 and 43. The last 2 points will be granted to us at level 57 and 65. Change is from 51 to 60, because this one is 51 and the last one currently we get at level 60. Discipline active ability grant levels. Here is a kind of a minimal change, but they've done that to every class, so it's only logical that I would mention it once again for this video. Starting at level 10, just as it is now, we will get a new discipline specific active ability every 16 levels. Which means the only real change compared to 3.0 is that you will get your third active ability at level 42 instead of 41. And your fourth active ability at level 58 instead of 57. Quickly switching to the game and showing what BioWare means. In this case, for telekinetics, because I have this discipline open for whatever reason, telekinetic gust will be granted with the same description and boosts and perks at level 42 instead of 41. The same thing goes for this ability, again because BioWare wants a specific gap of equal amount of levels between each new ability. I don't know why, this doesn't make much sense, but there is no point discussing that over and over again. They've decided to do it so, and it's not some kind of a big change, so we can easily accept it. The discipline passive ability grant levels, here is another minimal, but could prove to be a very important and vital change for some classes. I don't expect it would be an issue for the advanced classes we are discussing today. These now happen every 4 levels, beginning at level 12. The only change compared to 3.6 that instead of getting a level 59 passive skill, we will get one at level 60 and the new passive at level 64. Quickly showing you that the level 59 passive ability is being moved to level 60 because the previous one is learned at level 56, and 56 plus 4 equals 60. Again, 60 plus 4 is 64. Moving on to the next table, I will quickly just display the article, and I will link it, of course, down below in the description in case you haven't seen it yet. But we are starting now with the Sith Inquisitor and Jedi Consular specific changes. This video specifically will deal with the changes coming to Assassin and Shadow. Let's see. Phase Walk has moved into the Inquisitor Consular base class, granting its use to Sorcerer Sages as well, It's a global change. It can be trained or granted at level 61. What is the reason behind this? Just a couple quick words. With 4.0, BioWare wanted to give assassins and shadows a better way to stealthily approach or return to their enemy target, and their new ability was specifically designed to do just that. For sorcerers and sages, BioWare wanted to give them an additional way to escape, so they made Phase Walk available to them. This is their reasoning behind moving Phase Walk as a base active ability for both classes. For the Sorcerer and Jedi Consular, again, it won't be as early as it is for the Assassins and Shadows, because level 61 is quite a high level, unless, of course, you purchase a token for straight level 60. Here we go. Let's move on to the most specific things for Shadow and Assassin. The new ability for this advanced class will be called Phantom Stride or Shadow Stride. 30-meter range and no global cooldown. 30-second cooldown. Use the Force to move through time and space, appearing at your enemy target and increasing your movement speed by 75% for 3 seconds. It doesn't break stealth. It cannot be used against targets in cover. Requires a double-bladed lightsaber or electrostaff, ensuring that you're not using some other classes' abilities. This is a very popular ability for stealth classes that I have seen in other games. Not that I have experience with other games a lot, but I think that's a generic ability that so far our game has been missing, and BioWare decided it is about time to add this one. We're moving on now to the specific changes for the Assassin and Shadow. That's why I've relogged to Ida, who is my level 60 Shadow. New ability called Phantom Stride or Shadow Stride. 30-meter range and no global cooldown. 30-second cooldown. Use the Force to move through time and space, appearing at your enemy target and increasing your movement speed by 75% for 3 seconds. It doesn't break stealth, cannot be used against targets in cover, and requires a double-bladed lightsaber or electrostaff. The last requirement is just a generic list for ensuring that you are actually playing your class. This ability is what I would dare say a very generic and kind of a must-have, maybe a popular one, definitely among stealth classes in other games, at least to my basic knowledge. You know, I don't play many other games, and my knowledge is based on what I've seen, what I've heard, what I was told. But this one is a popular ability nonetheless, and I think it's not a bad idea. It's gonna create a lot of interesting situations, especially in PvP. I don't see any use of that in PvE unless maybe there is a specific environment from the new content. Specific changes to the advanced class 3 disciplines, starting with darkness or kinetic combat, and immediately switching to show the discipline 3s for those. New passive skill called Dark Bastion or Kinetic Bastion increases the duration of Dark Kinetic Ward by 5 seconds, its number of charges by 5, the shield chance it provides by an additional 3%, and reduces its cooldown by 5 seconds. In addition, the duration of Dark or Kinetic Bulwark is also 5 seconds longer, and it can build 2 additional stacks. So many buffs from just one new passive. Depredating Bolts and Cascading Debris is now trained at level 58 instead of 57. This is a generic chance. So far the skill hasn't changed. Its description remains the same. The same thing has happened to Force Pool. It is learned at level 42, up from 41 currently in the live version of the game. Shroud of Darkness or Mental Fortitude is trained at level 60, up from 59. The passive is a generic move. Again, we've seen this with every other discipline. Since most of you who are watching regularly my videos and my content and you follow my activities, you know that I'm not a good tank. My tanking days are some 3 years behind me, and I can't really comment with any specifics on these changes. I would really like to see and hear your opinion. And now it is time to move down to the second one. Deception or Infiltration. The new passive skill here is called Amped Voltage or Fracturing Force. Increase the damage dealt by surging charge, shadow techniques, discharge, or force breach by 5%. Additionally, activating phantom or shadow strike while surging charge or shadow technique is active builds 3 static charges, breaching shadow. Ball lightning or psychokinetic blast is now trained at level 58, up from 57, nothing new here. Low slash is now trained at level 42 instead of 41. Again, these two abilities remain with the same descriptions and they will keep doing the same thing unless BioWare decides to change them in the very last moment, which I highly doubt. The last change is again generic for every advanced class so far, and since this is the last developer blog, we know that BioWare is not going to make any more changes to our classes. Crackling Blast or Deep Impact is trained at level 60 instead of 59 because of the reasons I've mentioned in the very beginning of this video. The last spec, and I must say my favorite one for farming solo stuff and leveling, I don't want to go in discussion why, I just prefer it. You have to admit that field is awesome. So, Hatred Serenity. The new passive skill here is called Languishing Lashes or Atrophying Attacks. Dealing melee damage increases the critical chance of your damaging periodic effect by 10% for 10 seconds. I must admit this is not a huge boost for leveling purposes, but it is a nice boost for PvE encounters where you can focus on the same target for longer duration of time, I suppose. The next 3 changes are the most generic ones as previously mentioned. So basically the Assassin and Shadow is not undergoing huge changes and exchange of abilities, for example what we saw with the Agent. But let's go through them quickly. Demolish or Vanquish is moved to level 58 instead of 57. Leeching Strike or Serenity Strike is moved to level 42 instead of 41, and Inevitable Demise Aching Mind is now trained at level 60 instead of 59. All of these abilities description remain the same. Remember, everything I mentioned here in this video and in all of the other videos in this playlist are subject to change because they are a preview and they're based on information released by BioWare before the release of the expansion. If there are some changes, look around for links for newer video or newer version of these overviews because I will be doing them as soon as they appear, the changes that is. The utilities. Like with all other classes, we have one new utility for each one of the tiers. For Skillful, tier 1, the new utility for Shadow and Assassin is called Snaring Slashes or Strikes. Thrash Double Strike, Voltaic Slash, Clairvoyant Strike, and Lacerate Whirling Blow reduce the movement speed of the targets they damage by 30% for 6 seconds. Fantastic boost, I would say, for PvP. Absolutely no use for that utility in PvE whatsoever. But Shadow and Assassin is already fun to play in PvP, so I can imagine this one would add even more enjoyment. The tier 2 masterful new utility is called Speed Surge or Kinetic Acceleration. Shock Project, Bow Lightning, Physiokinetic Blast, and Creeping Terror or Server Forced increase your movement speed by 50% for 6 seconds. This cannot occur more than once every 12 seconds. Very nice speed boost, and I dare say 12 seconds is a relatively short amount of time. Very good and very useful. Sounds like almost a must-have for PvP, but again, it's not always the same when you read stuff and when you test them out. So we'll see when the game is going live. The last utility for tier 3 heroic is called Phasing Phantasm, one with the shadows. You can use Phantom or Shadow Strike while immobilized, and it purges immobilizing and slowing effects when used. Wow. Not bad, definitely. These are the changes for Shadows and Assassins. I hope the video was useful to you. The very little information and feedback I can provide is all based on my casual activity and just ulting or autoholism if you prefer with these classes. You know that I don't play often Shadow and Assassin. I currently level up on Assassin, and if you have been missing all of the episodes from my Good to Great Assassin walkthrough, definitely visit them, because if you're a newer player, you might learn a lot. If you're a pro player, you might at least enjoy the light side of the story, because I'm doing the walkthrough with completely the opposite choices, the ones that I'm sure 95% of you will never pick. So there is something for everybody there. And of course, if you see that maybe I'm not using one skill here or other skill there properly, you might give me a suggestion. Thank you guys for watching this video. Don't forget to take a look at all the other ones, because we still have one more to cover, and I'm beginning its recording right now. Bye bye.
Remember, you can find me also on Twitch, Twitter and Facebook. For my non-Star Wars activities, I invite you to subscribe to my second YouTube channel.